Welcome to the Invest with Clarity podcast, where you will learn how success in investing, as in life, is the result of absolute clarity. Mark Pearson of Nepsis in Minneapolis, Minnesota, shares his passion for portfolio management and commitment to transparency and communication to allow investors to fully understand what they own and why, bringing them to clarity in their investments. And now, here are your co-hosts, Matt Halloran and Mark Pearson.
Hello and welcome to another Invest with Clarity podcast. I am your pseudo host, Matt Halloran, joined as always by Chuck and Mark Pearson. Today we're going over part 2 of the top 10 myths of the financial services industry. All right, Chuck, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Matt. Great to be with everyone. And Mark, I was so much looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun, my friends. So we're going to take a tack from what we did previously here, and I'm going to tell you a misunderstanding that the investment industry proclaims. And then I'm going to ask you the question, clarity, on the other hand, proclaims. So we got 5 to go through. We'll do a summary. And I'm really looking forward to this. So here we go. You ready to go, Mark?
I was born ready.
I know you were. Okay. All right. Our industry tells us recessions and bear markets are ruthless for investors and should be gravely feared. Clarity, on the other hand, Mark, proclaims.
Well, as the legendary investor Shelby Colby Davis touted, that I like to use his phrase often, investors make most of their money on investments during bear markets. They just don't realize it at the time. In other words, if I may get on a tangent momentarily.
Certainly.
The industry is teaching people that volatility is bad because volatility is bad because you can't sleep at night. And you can't sleep at night because people have no freaking clue what they own in their portfolios or why they even own it in the first place. Unlike a business owner who knows what they own, they know why they own it, and they view economic slowdowns, i.e. recessions, i.e. bear markets, a shrinkage of sales, as opportunities to continually reinvest in their business to prepare themselves when the bear market or the recession is over, because recessions and bear markets do end. Therefore, volatility is the greatest tool created for investors to take advantage of buying businesses on sale.
That was sweet, short, and to the point. But I think that you nailed it. Now, the next one you're going to love. Now, the reason I started off with the one about recession, because we have another word for that. We call it in-house recession obsession. So before I get to this Truth 7, could you maybe, and this is kind of off the cuff here, but I know you're going to speak with much profound wisdom, as you always do. Yeah, right. So this recession obsession, and talk a little bit about last year. We had 2 bottoms in the equity markets in June and October, 30% sell-offs. And we're still talking about this forthcoming recession that everyone should be so worried about. What was Nepsis doing last year in the midst of these 30% sell-offs, which I believe we're looking to the forthcoming recession, whenever that may or may not happen?
We did 2 significant things in 2022. One, we did tax loss harvesting. Many investors don't realize that you can do what's called tax loss harvesting. In your non-IRA accounts, you can sell a company, you can sell a position in the portfolio and take a loss on it. As long as you wait 30 days, you can go back in and you can repurchase that business and not worry about what they call the wash sale rule. So in other words, do not sell something at a loss and buy it back within 30 days or you will not get the loss. So you can tax loss harvest, meaning take losses to offset current gains or offset future gains. That's the first thing we were doing. The second thing we were doing was using our buy and sell discipline, selling businesses of lesser quality to buy higher quality businesses on sale. I think it's important to remember, and we're going through this right now, movements in stock prices, movements in the price of a business in the stock market is most of the time not logical. If you go into investing in businesses through the stock market, remember, the stock market is the greatest tool ever created to bring buyers and sellers of businesses together. If you understand that if the long-term fundamentals of a business have not changed and a stock goes down 25%, 20%, 16%, is that a buying opportunity or do you sell it? Generally, business owners, when sales go down in their business during recessionary periods, what do? They adjust their business. They may cut back in some areas and invest in other areas. They may invest in more technology or invest in more services to help them that when we come out of a recession, their business is more prepared to grow more in the next economic upcycle. They're not freaking out. They're not selling their business. They are taking advantage of the pullback to continually invest in their business long term to accomplish the profits that they want to accomplish.
So very well said. And this is going to parlay into the next one here, because we just saw, we're going to go to truth number 7 here. And I should say we're going to the top 10 myths. So we're calling it truth number 7 because of what Clarity proclaims. But yesterday, Fed Chair Powell, and the day prior to that, sat before the Senate Committee on Finance and certainly the House Committee, and was peppered with numerous questions. And as you know, Mark, you and I are purveyors of the business channels. And what was showing is he answering questions, and on the sidebar was the gyrations of the equity market. So here's what I'd like you to address, if you could, please, sir. Our industry tells us that Fed officials are the most powerful people on the planet, and that every word they speak has come from the mountaintop. So Clarity, on the other hand, Mark, proclaims.
Well, Clarity would proclaim that prudence,
yes,
shrewdness, prudent and shrewd investors speak with their pocketbooks, and the battle of wits is showing that today.
Fantastic. So if you can expound upon that, because I think you addressed a little bit about that, right?
Yes.
Whatever the Fed says is going to provide opportunity.
Yes.
No matter what they do is going to provide opportunity. Yet the way that the industry looks at it is that they said X, that's good, but if they say Y, that's bad. It doesn't always have to be that way. There's always opportunity.
Okay. So one of the things that investors have to understand and realize is that prudent and shrewd investors do speak with their pocketbooks. The daily movement of the quote unquote indexes or the market, much of that is actually driven by computers, not investors. And it is what they call programmed trading. And it is computers that are set to do different things at different times based on a lot of technical factors. I mean, how many times have you heard investors speak in the past say, I don't trust the stock market. The stock market is nothing more than a gamble.
Yes.
No, the stock market is not a gamble. The stock market is nothing more than a market. How can a market be a gamble? Now,
it can't.
Correct. Now, are there businesses that buy and sell in that market gamble? 100%. 100% it is. But at the end of the day, we are moving into a new era of investing where bonds will not be as sexy. But first of all, bonds have been horrible investments for 10 years, maybe longer. But that's a conversation for another day. We're moving into a new era of investing where prudence, i.e. true valuation of the businesses you invest in, are going to have different valuation metrics than what many investors have been experiencing in the last 20 years. It is a different market. It is different compared to the last 20 years, but it is not different from, let's call it, the 30s into the 60s or 70s or 80s. Valuation matters. If I say to a client, do you know what the valuation of your portfolio is? They would look at me and go, what are you talking about? I can guarantee you, though, that every business owner that owns a business knows the valuation of their business.
Absolutely.
Every investor in a business, in their business or other businesses, has at least a relative idea of what the value of that business is. And just as I heard on CNBC recently, investors are going to be called to more scrutiny to read the label. What do they actually really own in their portfolios? We like to call that a foundational component of investing with clarity.
How good that was, Mark. And it was amazing because both you and I were watching that live. You sent me a little bit of a clip. And for our listeners and our audience, I think that's going to be a great topic for our next podcast, yes. Right? You must read the label like we do for everything that we buy, right?
100%.
Why not have it that for our investing dollars? Okay. So you've nailed these two, my friend. You got recession obsession. We got that out of the way. We got the Fed. Now we're going to kind of pivot towards the academic side. And I know both you and I have a passion about this, but so here's what I'm going to pass your way. Another myth.
I love the academia.
Yeah, I know.
Don't ask me to spell it, Matt, but I know it.
I know when I see it, right? The
famous A-K-A.
Sorry. Something like that. Okay.
I digress.
So here, that's okay. You always have me on pins and needles here. So let's get to this one. This is a truth number 8, at least from our end, but the mistruth that the industry tells us. So here we go, Mark. Our industry tells us modern portfolio theory is scientific fact and is the bedrock for investing decisions that are made. Clarity, on the other hand, Mark, proclaims, take it away.
Modern portfolio theory is junk science and is nothing more than mumbo jumbo concocted in a lab to bring order to the messiness of the markets. Wow, Chuck, I love how you put some of this stuff together.
You love mumbo jumbo.
I love mumbo jumbo. Look, investing is not something called modern portfolio theory.
Amen.
Investing is truly the fundamental process of taking your money and putting it to work in a business or businesses that you expect to get a return on in the future. That is investing. Modern portfolio theory is a process created to put investments in boxes. So investors are sitting with their advisors, they're looking at their portfolio, listening to someone talk about how they've got X amount of their investment in different quote unquote categories and boxes. And the simple question I would ask to any financial advisor who puts the style box in front of their client is to say, what's the largest holding in that style box? What is the value of that business in that style box? The style boxes have been created to create a cookie cutter, mainstream, call it mediocre or mediocrity type of investing process. But it is not investing. It is a theory. I don't invest in theories. I invest in businesses.
Boy, did you say it so well, because I want to stay on this topic if we could here, because I love what you just said about the style box. And this is this order that what modern portfolio theory attempted to do was bring order to the messiness. So what's the messiness? The messiness is what we see
lack
before
of clarity.
us.
That's the messiness.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, and that is it. Because the fear of the variance of returns, we call it volatility, right? We make up these words to make it sound something that should be feared. And it should actually, and you said this, it's not only necessary for returns, it's something that if you don't have variability, you wouldn't have what we do for a living, right? The ability to buy a sound company that's selling for lower than its intrinsic value at a discount and using a process over time to make profit in that. Just think about that. If we didn't have the disorder, Mark, the messiness, the variability of pricing,
have it.
You have to have it. But our industry, modern portfolio theory, tells it's at risk. It's risk, right? And I think that's where the
correct.
Yeah.
Now, let me kind of squirrel on this one.
Yeah, no, please.
For the people listening, did you know that there's volatility at your grocery market? Did you know that? When you go to the grocery store to go shopping, do you go in there when you heard something's on sale? A lot of people do. They bring in their coupons, or they hear there's something on sale and they go to the grocery store to get it. I'll even go a step further. People will drive 5 miles out of the way to get a 5-cent discount on their gasoline and spend more money driving to save 5 cents a gallon on their gasoline than just stopping and paying the extra 5 cents. So people spend more time gaining clarity on the gas prices that they're paying instead of getting clarity on where the majority of their money is invested in the businesses that they own that they expect a return on in the future. And when you go to your grocery store, there's always stuff on sale. And there's a lot of people that will price shop and compare prices between different products and buy the one that's on sale. That's called investing. Buying on sale.
I love what you just said. And it is amazing how different people view, and they're almost like robots, mindless robots, unfortunately, that are led astray by that theory, that what you just laid out. It's the only thing that I can think.
It's Pavlovian.
Yes, it is. Like Pavlov's dog. You nailed that. And I love the fact that you brought up, which I think is the most profound, if you will, example. And it's the gasoline. We'll drive all over town looking for the lowest price ones, wasting and burning fuel more than it is. Why don't we do that with businesses?
Right. Yeah. People complain about the fees associated with they want the cheapest fees.
Right.
So in other words, they're comparing their investment portfolio like gasoline. I want the cheapest price on what I'm getting because gasoline is gasoline. They're all the same. And for the most part, they pretty much are.
Yes.
But investment portfolios are not all the same. No one portfolio is identical to each other. And so you want the cheapest price on your portfolio, your most prized possession, your investment you worked hard for, and you want to invest like you buy gasoline.
I love what you just said.
No wonder when you light a match to it, it goes up in smoke.
You use the word that we haven't said in a while here, prized possession. And I want people to think about this because we've done, there's this art piece, right, to the methodology, which is extremely important. But the word portfolio, people don't even look at it as a prized possession that's built and constructed for them, right?
Right.
And we should view it as when people back in the day, they used to get commissioned artwork, right? Either of their family or objects that they owned. And they paid a private person to do that. They put it on top of their fireplace mantle and they looked at it with beauty because it was made for them. Why don't we look at our own investment portfolios the same way?
That's because investors look at their financial advisor. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, why should I trust you? Or I trust you with my money. I trust you with my money. And I'm always very grateful for that. And trust is something that is earned. But to gain trust, one must have clarity. And so people will go to their financial advisor and say, I love my financial advisor. I trust them. It's great that you trust them. But the reality is that most financial advisors have no clue what's in their portfolio. So you are trusting an advisor to have the clarity to fundamentally actually know what's going on in your portfolio. And this is why modern portfolio theory is so popular. It's the easy way out. It's cookie cutter, but it has zero clarity associated with it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, nobody cares about clarity until when, Chuck?
Until they need it, until they need
clarity. And when does that usually happen? During periods of volatility, during periods when they have fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD. And this industry lives on the acronym FUD.
I don't think you've ever said that before. At least I haven't heard FUD. I mean, I've known you I love that. That's another one. That's another podcast. You're coming up with titles here.
I'm full of ideas today.
Thank you.
Matt?
It makes my job easier, Matt. My goodness.
Use FUD in the olden days.
Okay. Well, that was before we've known each other for 20 years.
Create fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And what does that do? That leaves the buyer to do what is the usual, what is the easiest, what is the one that's going to allow them to sleep at night. It's not necessarily the best decision, but they do it because they don't want to be wrong. And they fear, uncertainty, and doubt that is thrown at them by the media every day is what creates mediocrity in this investment world. And that is why there are so many different investment options, ETFs, hedges, inverse ETFs, double, triple, small cap, large cap, growth, value, blah, blah, blah. Do you know anyone who owns private businesses that talks about their business like that?
No.
They are investing in a business to get a return on that business in the long run.
Oh, man. And you transitioned so well into the next one here, which I think you're going to love. So this maybe is for our advisor friends who we certainly love that are listening to this, and not all do this, but some do. So here's truth number 9, or myth number 9, depending on how you want to spin it. Mark, our industry tells us that the intelligent investor or advisor uses such things as alpha, beta, Sharpe, and trainer ratios to determine the best way to invest. Clarity.
Omega's not in there.
Well, we could add Omega in there if we wanted to, right? Clarity, on the other hand, Mark proclaims. Take it away.
Modern portfolio theory, via its made-up Greek letters and professors, adding their names to formulas that dismiss price swings as risk, is a ruse and has no place in the investment decision-making process. Let me tell you, in all the years I used to sit down with clients, and of course I don't anymore, but when I did, who freaking cares what alpha, beta, Sharpe, standard deviation trainer is? You know what? It's because people want to come across looking smart.
Yes.
And if they come across to the advisor, look how smart I am, the client goes, oh, this guy must know what he's talking about. The reality is that they don't know what you own and why you own it, because they're not the money manager. They hire money managers, many times 5, 10, 15, 20 people managing your portfolio. Can you imagine the lack of clarity associated with that? It's no wonder people live in fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
I love it. FUD. And I always was thinking like a fuddy-duddy. It's not a good term, right? So you not only created this acronym FUD, but it can stretch this out. So Mark, you're blowing this one out of the water, my man. You're doing that. So we got one more. We'll do a summary here, and you're going to love this one. So I'm going to give you some time here, because this is, I think, the great way to bring this to a close. So truth or myth, depending on how you look at it. Number 10, our industry tells us, Mark, the most important decision in selecting a money manager is determining how they will perform in the future, which is based certainly on past performance. Clarity, on the other hand, Mark proclaims.
Not only must we post on return data, that claim is not true, but the greatest two determinants of future performance are the consistency and conviction of that money manager's process. This one is so juicy. This one's got so much butter on it. My cholesterol is through the roof. First of all, you never make a decision to work with a money manager based on past performance. There's a reason why the industry, the regulators, make money managers state at the bottom of all return sheets, past performance is not indicative of future performance. If you do not know how past performance was created, how do you possibly believe you're going to get that return in the future? It doesn't mean you're going to get it in the future. Process as I always say, process before progress. Portfolio performance, or more importantly, the performance of the businesses you own, are based on a time-tested process. I had a couple of advisors recently ask me, we want to see your historical returns. Why don't you publish historical returns? And I said, because historical returns are historical. We don't focus on returns. We will not publish returns because returns can be misleading. They can. Many times, returns are misleading. We've done the study on Morningstar 5-star rated funds that go back to 1- and 2-star rated funds the next 3 to 5 years. It is generally because 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 positions within that portfolio created a short-term performance that is skewed. And you don't understand the criteria used to pick those businesses. When a business owner invests in his business, he knows or she knows what they are investing in, why they are investing in it, and what their expected performance in the future is going to be, not in the past.
Boy, you nailed it.
Not focus on historic. And people say to me, why should I move my money to you? You don't publish your returns. Well, you're asking me the wrong question. Really, what's the question? The question you should be asking is, how many of our clients leave on an annual basis? I mean, clearly, if we're not doing our job, people are going to move their money. They have the right to. We've been here 27 plus years. I don't think that performance is a problem for us. And we're not, as a matter of fact, performance is not a problem at all. And that's why people always said, why don't you publish your returns? You'll get a lot more assets under management. And I said, this is not about getting assets under management. This is about teaching a fisherman how to fish. This is about teaching an investor the understanding of the power of investing with clarity, understanding the process so that when volatility happens, when recessions happen, you as an investor are saying to yourself or to your financial advisor, boy, I hope my money management team is buying businesses on sale, because there is always a bull market somewhere in the stock market, as Jim Cramer says.
Boy, Mark, very, very well said. I'm going to do one more thing here, my friend, and we'll wrap it up. It's okay. So I'm going to read our summary statement, and then I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to close us out here. So this, again, for our listeners, part 2, right, of the 10 major myths. So here's my summary statement, Mark. We can think of no other industry that has concocted a narrative to distract and confuse its patrons than ours, which of course is the investment industry. The clarity message strikes the 3-headed monster, which again are product pushers, the financial media, and academic, right between the eyes with simple truths that are in the process of what we call slaying this evil dragon. A message that is both so very profound, yet very precious at the same time. We can think of no better time than today to be a holder and a proclaimer of the clarity message that flies in the face of others who stand to believe otherwise.
Wow. It's a great summary.
Do you like that?
I don't know if I could really add to that.
Tell me why you think the clarity message today is as important as it ever has been. How about if I tee that up for you?
Well, clarity is not just important in your investing. Clarity is important in your life. Living with clarity is our mantra. Investing with clarity, advising with clarity, giving with clarity, retiring with clarity, women with clarity, men with clarity. They are all aspects of the journey that we all are living, and that we call the road to Nepsis, the road to ultimate clarity. Nepsis is the guide to assist in the process along the way of helping investors, more importantly, individuals, obtain the greatest amount of clarity around their investments, around their financial plan, their retirement plan, and all the other aspects of life that we feel individually is important. And just like no one portfolio is the same, no one client is the same. And the best way to guide a client is to have a higher level of clarity so that you can assist your client in achieving ultimate clarity.
Excellent, my friend. And Matt, the only thing I think I could add to that are 3 exclamation points. How do you like that?
That's fantastic. And I can't wait to do the FUD episode. I mean, we've done, 100 of these now. I've never heard him say FUD. You've never heard him say FUD. I thought FUD was fantastic. So
here.
And I just, to kind of wrap it up from my, just sitting here and listening to you guys, what Mark just said there at the end, clarity is all aspects of your life. You should be trying to do whatever you possibly can to just have more clarity in your life. If you just start with investing with clarity, I think that's going to open your eyes and your mind to how much more clarity you truly need. And the more clarity you have, the better life you're going to lead. So with that, I'm going to say thank you both very, very much. If you have not subscribed, make sure that you do. I know that everybody who's listening to this knows and has had conversations with somebody at dinner or over drinks about what Mark and Chuck have been talking about today. You need to share this with them. If you want your friends and family to have clarity, this is the absolute best way for them to do it, is to subscribe to the show. So for Mark and Chuck, this is Matt Halloran. We'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
The content discussed is for informational purposes only. It is not a solicitation or recommendation for any securities that may be mentioned herein. Advisory services offered through Nepsis Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor.